Elizabeth, a brilliant young researcher, had just landed her dream postdoc at Harvard Medical School. She packed her life into a few boxes and moved to Boston, renting a cozy little apartment with a roommate named Cassie. The city buzzed with energy, and her future felt as bright as the autumn leaves scattered across the campus. Everything was perfect, or so it seemed. The first few days were a blur of unpacking, lab orientations, and getting to know Cassie. But one evening, while brushing her teeth, Elizabeth glanced at the bathroom mirror and froze. For just a split second, she saw a face that wasn't hers. A girl with pale skin, dark, messy hair, and eyes wide with a terror that seemed to pierce right through the glass. She blinked, and it was gone, just her own tired reflection staring back. "It's just the stress," she mumbled, splashing cold water on her face. "Long days, new city. I'm just seeing things." But it wasn't just her imagination. The next day, it happened again. This time, the face lingered longer, its features more distinct. It was a young girl, maybe a teenager, trapped in a silent scream. As the days turned into a week, the strange occurrences escalated. The fleeting image in the mirror became a constant, unwelcome guest. The girl's face was always there, superimposed over her own, like a ghostly double exposure. Her skin was unnaturally pale, almost translucent, and her dark, tangled hair seemed to float as if underwater. But it was her eyes that haunted Elizabeth the most. They were black pools of pure, undiluted fear. Then the sounds began. It started as a faint hum, a soft, mournful melody that seemed to come from the mirror itself. It was a tune Elizabeth didn't recognize, yet it felt strangely familiar, like a half-forgotten lullaby from a nightmare. She tried to ignore it, turning up her music, running the faucet, but the humming always found a way to cut through the noise, a soft, persistent whisper in the back of her mind. Every time she tried to convince herself she was just exhausted, the girl would appear, her presence more solid, more real than before. It was as if she was feeding on Elizabeth's doubt, growing stronger with every attempt to dismiss her. One night, Elizabeth found herself standing in front of the mirror, her heart pounding a frantic rhythm against her ribs. She couldn't take the silence, the constant, terrified gaze anymore. "What do you want?" she whispered, her voice trembling. For a moment, there was nothing. Then the reflection's lips moved, and a sound, like the rustling of dry leaves, filled the small bathroom. "Let me out," it rasped, the voice barely audible. "Let me out." Elizabeth's blood ran cold. This was real. This was happening. Gathering every ounce of courage she had, she asked the question that had been clawing at her sanity. "Who are you?" The girl in the mirror offered a small, chilling smile, a faint, sad curve of her lips. Her voice was clearer this time, a ghostly echo of Elizabeth's own. "You," she said simply. Then her smile widened, revealing an emptiness that was far more terrifying than any monster. "And you," the reflection added, its voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper, "will be dead soon." That night, sleep was a forgotten luxury. Elizabeth lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, every creak of the old building sounding like a footstep. The girl's words echoed in her mind. "You'll be dead soon." Just as she was about to drift into a restless doze, a new sound began. It was a whisper, slithering through the walls from the direction of the bathroom. "Liz! Liz!" It was a drawn-out, sibilant hiss, a snake of a sound that coiled around her name, stretching it into a terrifying taunt. She pulled the covers over her head, but the sound was inside her skull, impossible to block out. The voice wasn't just in the walls, it was everywhere. The next morning, fueled by coffee and sheer terror, she stumbled into the bathroom. She braced herself to see the girl's face, but what she saw was even worse. Her own reflection was gone, completely vanished. In its place, the girl with the pale skin and fearful eyes stared back, no longer a faint overlay but the sole occupant of the mirror. It felt like a powerful, unseen force was pulling at her, trying to drag her into the glass, into the cold, silent world where the girl lived. It didn't just want to haunt her, it wanted to replace her. Desperate and feeling her mind unravel, Elizabeth sought refuge in the anonymous crowds of the internet. She found an old forum dedicated to paranormal experiences and unexplained phenomena. Her fingers flew across the keyboard as she typed out her story, a frantic plea for help, for anyone to understand. Her final post was a jumble of fear and a strange, chilling sense of resignation. It read, "She's in my mirror. She says she's me. My reflection is gone. I think she wants my life. I can feel her pulling me in. Maybe this is how it works. Maybe there always has to be someone inside the mirror. Maybe I need to die to let her out." She hit post and stared at the screen, the words hanging in the digital space like a final will and testament. There were no more options. The entity in the glass had won. The next evening, Cassie came home from a long day at the hospital. She called out for Elizabeth, but the apartment was eerily quiet. A sense of unease prickled at her skin. She walked towards the bathroom, noticing the door was slightly ajar, a single sliver of light cutting through the dim hallway. She pushed it open and walked into a nightmare. The bathroom mirror was a spiderweb of cracks, shattered into 1,000 pieces, and there, standing in the middle of the glittering debris, was Elizabeth. Her eyes were vacant, her face a mask of serene horror. In her hand, she clutched a long, sharp shard of the broken mirror. Before Cassie could even scream, Elizabeth raised the piece of glass to her own throat. Time seemed to slow as Cassie watched, frozen in disbelief, as her roommate ended her life right there, amidst the ruins of the haunted glass. Hours later, after the police had come and gone, after the sterile shock had worn off, leaving only a hollow, cavernous grief, Cassie found herself drawn back to the bathroom. The broken mirror had been left as it was, a chaotic mosaic of what had happened. She stared at the wreckage, tears blurring her vision. And then she saw it. Something moved within the fractured reflections. It wasn't just one face anymore. In a shard near the bottom, she saw the pale girl, her eyes no longer filled with fear, but with a cold, triumphant emptiness. And in the shard next to it, another face appeared. Elizabeth. Her expression was identical to the other girl's, a vacant, haunted stare. And then they both began to whisper, their voices intertwining into a single, horrifying sound that filled the room, a sound that crawled up Cassie's spine and settled deep in her soul. Cassie. Cassie. Let us out. Cassie backed away, her hands flying to her mouth, but she didn't run. A strange, lonely calm washed over her. She thought of them, trapped in the cold, silent world behind the glass. Her last post on that same online forum, a reply to Elizabeth's final message, was short. It read, "I'm going to sit with them. They must be so lonely." Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more terrifying tales. We'll see you in the next one. Stay safe.